Hey guys, Nisler Magic here, and finally it's time for another MTG Mistakes episode, and holy crap, how did I not get to this one already? How did I not think of this? How was this not yet a video? So many people do this, but it's so easy to fix. So you build your deck and you look at its weaknesses, you look at what potentially might backfire, or how somebody might shut it down usually, and what your opponents are playing at F&M, and then you build a sideboard. Now, that's apparently where most people stop. Nothing wrong with that, right? Well, technically, yes. The stopping part, no. Let me ask you, how many times have you gone to Friday Night Magic or any other Magic tournament and had somebody say, oh, I better sideboard, because they just got utterly obliterated? So then they're picking out cards and they go, now what do I take out, though? And we've all been there, right? Well, you shouldn't be. Unless it's something really weird where it's like half your sideboard is artifact destruction and the other half is, I don't know, maybe counter spells that save your permanents or something. Or maybe artifact destruction and board wipes because they're running servos and they're also running like artifacts that boost them or something. I don't know. So then you'd need to put in all 15 cards from your sideboard, sort of. I mean, the math doesn't really support that, but I could see somebody thinking that. So then, yeah, most sideboards are not designed to be sideboarded the whole 15 cards at a time. So yes, what would you take out? So in that case, you probably just shouldn't. You should probably limit it to like 8 or 9 or something. But I've heard people, they want to put in 4 cards and they're asking themselves right then in the middle of a round at F&M, what should I take out though? I have no idea what to take out. Well, that's not good. So you can't really just build your deck and then build your sideboard and just think, oh, it would be nice if I could blow up this. It would be nice if my sideboard did this. Oh, I might need to do this. No, your sideboard should definitely have something to do with your deck. Like in this condition, I will swap this for this. And in this condition, I'll swap, 6 of these, 4 of these, 3 of these, whatever, for this. That will change that and that will be okay. So the basic tip I'm going to give is just plan like sideboarding drills, like not even like literally do it, like get out the cards and do it. That's just a waste of time, but do it in your head. You definitely want to just rehearse. Okay, let's say I'm playing against Servo Dump. Okay, so I need to take out my 8 individually targeted kill spells and put in 8 of the mass kill spells. So, you take out your murders and put in, I don't know, Flaying Tendrils, we'll say. And then you would take out Fatal Push and put in Yahenni's Expertise or whatever that -3 sweeper is. So that's simple. Okay, I don't need targeted spells anymore, so that's what I'd take out. I need mass spells, so that's what I'll put in. Simplest sideboard you can possibly build. But in the example before, let's say you've got 16 boost spells, 24 heroic creatures. Yeah, we're going old school. And, 20 lands or whatever, I don't know, 22 lands and 18 or just whatever adds up. Math is hard when you got up at 7 in the morning. But then when you get done, you just think, oh, I might maybe have to do that thing green does and blow up an enchantment or artifact. So you put in like a bunch of naturalized clones in there, like 7 cards or whatever. Well, then you're like, oh, cool, they're running all artifacts. They're running Dynavolt Tower and Torrential, which, yeah, they probably are, let's be honest. So now I need to side in my artifact destruction. Oh crap, I never rehearsed what to take out. And you gotta sit there in like 1 minute or less usually, like picture your whole entire deck list and try not to completely cripple it. And some people, now they can blow up artifacts, but oops, they took out like half their boost spells, now their deck doesn't work. I mean, you can't be left with just heroic creatures, and you can't be left with just boost spells. Neither one of those will work by themselves. So what you should do is already have planned in your head, just say, I'm going to sideboard in no more than 8 cards. So you have a concept sideboard where 8 cards do one thing, 7 do another. And like I always say, if you have, 4 or less, even 3 or less of a card in your sideboard, don't even bother because in the entire game down to 8 turns, it's still less than a 50-50 chance in most cases that you'll draw the card at all. So if you just lost the first round, you don't want a 50-50 shot at pulling the cards that you need to win. That's not going to happen. So you sideboard in 8 cards. What you should do is obviously take out 4 creatures, 4 boosts. So you should already have in your mind the weakest creature or creatures and the weakest boost spells. That would be logical. Or if they're countering a lot of stuff, you could at the same time say, I'm going to take out my most powerful but my highest mana cost creature because they're getting shredded anyway. I want a double cast per turn. That would be pretty logical. You'd be losing some power, but your deck would be more effective overall. The same goes for if they're running removal spells. Well, get rid of your 4-cost 5/5 and put in, Artifact Destruction or whatever. That would technically be your least useful creature, even though it's the most powerful creature in your deck. It's because it's too much of a lightning rod. I mean, you'd rather have 2 creatures out that cost 2 and then 3 mana in the place. I think I said it costs 4, but whatever. Then they'd have to burn 2 removal spells, otherwise they're going to keep getting hit. So you get the idea. So you should just come up with common scenarios and not only use those scenarios to plan and build your sideboard, but also to just, plan how to actually do the sideboard, like how to actually sideboard as an action. So hopefully that makes sense. I mean, I would say if you really cannot do like an 8/7 sideboard, a concept sideboard where you take out one concept and flip it for another, which is usually what you're doing, I would probably then go to a balanced sideboard, which is the only other type that I would ever recommend. That's where you either have 2 of or 3 of in your deck, and then you have 1 or 2 in the sideboard of the same spell, and it's like, oh, that's especially effective against their deck. Like they only bring out 1 or 2 or 3 creatures per game. If I have a spell that boosts all my creatures, they're going to get hit a lot better than a +4/+4 trample spell. So you take a little bit out of the single target boost and put in a little bit more of the mass boost. And it wouldn't even have to be the same card. It could just be extremely similar cards. So then it's perfectly acceptable to sideboard like 2, 3, or 4 cards because it will actually do something, because you're shifting from like 8 counter spells down to 6 because they're barely casting anything important. They're just spamming cheapy little spells. And then you're upping the amount of your creatures because they're bringing out a higher volume of creatures. So that would be a balanced sideboard. Now, the +2/-2 is kind of like 4 mathematically. It's because you're changing it in 2 directions at once by only swapping 2 cards. So that's why balanced sideboards work, and I think they're a lot more common in the competitive scene. So they're kind of a better sideboard. I just have, I'd say contingency plan sideboards, but that's literally a card. But basically, yeah, it's a contingency plan. It's what if they do this? Okay, add in this entire new foreign concept. It's just a what if condition, fix it. If it's broken, fix it. That kind of thing. But whatever works. I mean, sometimes your deck is so sensitive you can barely take out any cards, and some people would just not build a sideboard. No, I would at least try to build a balanced sideboard. And the next tip I would give is definitely build a partial sideboard, because I mean, you basically just sleeve up lands, just basic lands, or 99% of judges will let you get away with an 8-card sideboard because the other 7 are assumed to be basic lands. I had heard that if you show up to like a Grand Prix and you have an 8-card sideboard, they will hand you 7 lands and say, here's the rest of it. Or they'll just say, okay, when you're filling out your deck list, just put that they're basic lands, and then just don't touch them, don't use them because they don't actually exist or whatever. So it's not technically legal to have a sideboard under 15, but it pretty much is in effect. So if the only thing you need is 7 cards that blow up enchantments, go for it. And then just bring just that. I do that all the time. You don't necessarily have to get to 15 because then you'll be second guessing yourself and you'll try to stuff too many cards into the deck and you'll end up taking out too many cards because you're trying to solve too many problems at once, and then your deck ceases to function correctly. There's no point in shutting down whatever strategy they're doing or whatever mechanic they're using if you also shut down your deck just as proficiently. And that is the problem. That is the mistake that people make. So hopefully now after watching this, you will not make that mistake. Thanks for watching, and definitely check out the rest of the series, and I'll see you guys next video.